Boston's Mayor Michelle Wu is our guest this morning. Let's go on the record. From greeting the vice president to facing down the city council, it's been an eventful first year for the hub's trailblazing mayor. The lessons learned, the challenges ahead. The mayor is here. Let's go on the record.
From WCVB Channel 5, the inside word from Washington to Beacon Hill. Today's newsmakers are going on the record.
Welcome to OTR, everyone. I'm Ed Harding, along with News Center 5's political reporter Janet Wu. It's great to have you with us this morning. And with us in the chair, as you can see, is Boston's Mayor Michelle Wu. After an historic election last November, she is approaching her first anniversary in office. She previously served on the Boston City Council, including council president, a resident of Roslindale. She's a graduate of Harvard University and Harvard Law School. Can you believe it's been like a year from election till now? Can you believe that?
I can't. Feels like 10 years.
I can understand that.
And I bet you there was an extra half hour of sleep somewhere in
Yeah, that'd be good too. Right. Thanks for being with us this morning. Great to see you.
So let's dive into it. Let's start off with probably one of your favorite issues, the MBTA. It's really no shock that Steve Pavtek won't be running the MBTA once a new governor takes over. But did it take too long for this to happen, for him to announce when his departure? And has it affect the overhaul of the T as well as delayed everything from happening with him at the helm?
The T's issues go back decades and decades, and I think just in recent months we started to see more urgency, more of a let's actually solve our real problems mindset, but it did take us too long to get to that point. I'm excited that we now have a recognition across every level of government of how important public transportation is. This can make or break our economic recovery, but also we know just how much is possible when the city and the T and everyone gets on the same page. We were able to stand up a huge response when there was a need for an Orange Line shutdown in just 2 weeks. Imagine if we actually decided to fix our system.
Of course, we all know that you don't have the final say on who gets to be the next general manager, but what would you like to see in the new general manager that's missing right now?
My dream leader for the MBTA would know the organization internally well, because there are a lot of issues that are actually around vacancies that need to be filled and staffing and kind of management related, and would have a clear vision about where we need to go, understand how to be in that leadership role, and then be familiar with Boston and the general political landscape.
But back to the original question that Janet brought up, the reaction from Senator Warren was it was long overdue. That's what she said when Pavtek submitted his resignation. Does the mayor think it's long overdue?
Steve served for 4 years over some of the hardest times in public transportation across the country. Every time I worked with him, he was responsive, he was diligent. He is in an administration that has its own set of priorities, and so as the manager, I think he was juggling a whole lot. We need to see some stability for the organization, and so I think his finishing out the term and then handing over the reins for a new administration to take over is the right move.
I'd love to show you some of this footage. Mike Bodette of R5 Investigates here at News Center 5 recently traveled to Philadelphia to check out their transit system, which is called SEPTA. Now, Philadelphia is a much larger city in terms of population, but the transit system is roughly the same age, and the track miles are roughly similar to what's here in Boston, but they have far fewer problems. So what do you think is the missing ingredient here?
I don't know all the details of how they make decisions around SEPTA. I have ridden on this system. I like to get on the train anywhere I go. But I know that in the MBTA's case, the fact that the city of Boston doesn't have a direct voice when we are part of the core and the vast majority of stations that are represented by the inner rail system has made a difference. Things get kicked down the line when the users who are most impacted don't have that direct voice. And so we're really still advocating to have a seat on the MBTA board to be able to then work in partnership. Look what we can do when the city and the T get together.
Let's talk about another issue that takes up a large amount of your time. You're approaching your 1-year anniversary as mayor, but the crisis at Mass and Cass is almost as bad as it was when you took over. There was a period of which I think the problem sort of was not as critical as it is today. Governor Baker claims he's helped you as much as he possibly can. Is he wrong about that?
I think we have a difference in approach and a difference in whether to be reactive or proactive. The situation today is, in fact, better than where we were. A year ago, we were faced with hundreds of people living in permanent, almost years-long entrenched encampments in that area. Today, we have daily coordination calls. People are connected to housing wherever possible, and the tents that pop up are just temporary. They come up and down with 25 different street cleanings a week in that area, and even more in the surrounding parks and out in neighborhoods nearby. We've made great progress, but we've made progress within the city of Boston. 200 housing units that we've created of a low threshold kind that didn't exist before, and none of that has been created outside the city of Boston. We have served more than 400 people, dozens made it through, got stabilized, onto permanent housing, but we need to see this as a statewide and regional crisis, with the state really having ownership of the idea that all of us have to be at the table.
So are you hoping that the next governor is going to be more helpful?
We need it. We have no other choice. Boston has now had 10 months of seeing exactly what works. It is transformational to take this housing first approach, and individuals have just had incredibly inspirational stories of getting stabilized, now working and paying rent and living a whole different chapter of their lives. But we can only do so much within just one city. We need that same approach expanded so that everyone has access in other communities as well.
Another homeless problem is the large influx of migrants. Last week, right here on OTR, House Ways and Means Chair Richard Neal actually sat in the very chair here at the table and talked about the likelihood of Massachusetts getting more financial help from Washington. He said it was slim. Governor Baker says migrants from Ukraine and Afghanistan get more help than those from south of the border. So who's got the right message here?
At the city level, we are going to have to make it work no matter what the other levels of government are deciding. Of course, we need more resources and we would put them to good use. But Boston has already been absorbing hundreds of families, migrant families, throughout the summer months. Our community partners really seeing the strain, folks showing up in hospitals, needing housing. And so we have a clear set of protocols and supports, and we've been really pushed to the max in terms of capacity. We're going to need to expand that capacity.
You served on the Boston City Council for many years, and this past week there was quite a few headlines coming out of there. They finally sent you a new map carving up the city into voting districts, but the debate was messy, at times it even bordered on nasty. What's your reaction to everything that happened to get where they are, which is basically where they started to begin with?
Yeah, redistricting is never an easy conversation, and I think we see that when it is the legal responsibility of just 13 individuals who are each very deeply and personally impacted by what comes of that, it adds extra layers of complexity, and it's been really disappointing and frustrating to see the kind of tone and types of attacks that have happened, personal attacks, when everyone is really trying to think about what the city needs. We saw growth in one particular part of the city, which means you have to lose population and lose geographic area to keep equal representation.
So seeing how hard it took and how long it took them to get to where they are you likely to sign this? Just be done with it, because at least they've come to some sort of consensus.
Yeah, I think in some ways, had there been more time, had there been an earlier start, there would have been fuller conversations, but a lot did happen in the last few weeks, and we have been reviewing all the various versions that came up. Basically every alternative that was proposed essentially fit within legal frameworks of the Voting Rights Act and other principles. We are actually doing one more check with our legal counsel just to ensure that this finalized map that was voted on satisfies those principles. But assuming that looks good, as we think it will, I will likely sign this.
I'd love to talk about housing now. You have a plan to turn empty downtown office buildings into housing. So the private sector has met some success in doing this, but it costs big dollars, and the results in very high-priced condos, as you well know, especially in a city like Boston here. So where will you get the money to make the units more affordable?
Yeah, the good news is that we have a once-in-a-generation infusion of recovery funds from the federal government, from partners at the state level. We have to be very smart about how we deploy those dollars. Partnering, just recently, the city and some community groups worked together to purchase 114 units of affordable housing in East Boston to make them 114 apartments to make them permanently affordable for those living there. Just an unheard of partnership at a scale to be able to take that many units and make sure they are permanently available for community members. That's the kind of partnership we need to see. At the same time, we are tightening up our own processes. I signed an executive order to cut in half the amount of time that it takes to approve affordable housing developments. Previously, it had been on average about 11 months or a year, and we need to go faster in terms of doing the due diligence so that we can just get shovels in the ground where it makes sense.
So it's not, these office buildings are not going to be left just to private developers.
That's right. So in the downtown plan, the big idea is that with our economy so fluid, with people having so many choices about where to work from home or living somewhere else and zooming into work, we can't have a successful downtown if it's only about 9 to 5 office workers. It needs to be a 24-hour neighborhood with amenities, with residential areas, with arts and culture. And we have a lot of opportunity now because of vacancies and changing leases to get in there and work with property owners on that.
Mayor Wu was with us. We're on the record.